we had a study from MIT and Oak Ridge National Laboratory that utilizes a simulation tool they created called the Iceberg Index. And this model found, among many other things, that current AI systems can replace today 11.7% of the US workforce, representing approximately $1.2 trillion in wages. And that's what's getting the headline. And the researchers note that while the tech layoffs in tech are visible, there's significant exposure that lies beneath the surface to AI in logistics, finance, and human resources, hence the name of this iceberg index. Now, separately at the same time, a report from the McKinsey Global Institute estimates that demonstrated that AI technologies could theoretically automate 57% of current US work hours. And the firm projects that by 2030, this shift could unlock $2.9 trillion in annual economic value. Now, McKinsey frames the transition not as pure displacement, but more as a move towards what they call, quote, skill partnerships between humans and agents. They note that 72% of skills are required for both automatable and non-automatable work. Interestingly, as a result, they find that consequently, employer demand for what they call AI fluency has increased sevenfold over the past 2 years. So, Paul, that's just kind of a very high level look at what these two big studies, two big pieces of research are looking at. I'm curious what jumped out to you here because, like you said, the MIT one's getting quite a bit of headlines. The McKinsey one's flying a little bit more under the radar, but has some really interesting stuff in it.
Yeah, both make for great headlines, that's for sure. The ones you kind of really want to dig into. So last night when I was getting ready for this, I wanted to go through both the reports as we always guide people, like look at the methodology, kind of see where the reports are coming from. We had the other MIT report we talked about a couple months ago that, didn't really hold up in terms of its methodology. This is a different research approach. I mean, this is a very thorough research effort from MIT. The project Iceberg is honestly a bit confusing. So I did download the full report and I actually read the whole thing. And I was trying to comprehend what exactly this data point was saying. And also just what they were trying to do with this project. So the website itself, again, we'll put the website address in. There's just iceberg.mit.edu. You can go and look at this yourself. There's not a lot to the site yet. I was hoping when I went there, I was going to be able to like explore this data. Like they talked about all this analysis they did and very deep analysis. And I couldn't figure out how to actually get to the data. So I couldn't actually assess these skills they were looking at and things like that. But basically, it's the best way I can explain this is it seems to be a sandbox for policy evaluation. So they're actually trying to work with like state level officials to guide on what these AI models mean to workforces. And so they're looking at identifying reskilling and training priorities and then evaluating investments across occupations, industries, and communities. So it is more around like policy and economic development, workforce development, it seems. So the research report itself actually starts off with really strong validation as to why this research is important. So I'll go through a couple of elements here. So they said evidence, and I think this is actually from the abstract to the research, if I remember correctly. Evidence suggests workforce change is occurring faster than planning cycles can accommodate. Payroll data covering millions of workers shows a 13% relative decline in early career employment, ages 22 to 25, which we've talked about that research on the podcast recently, for AI-exposed occupations. Analysis of job postings across 285,000 firms for 62 million workers reinforces the pattern. The demand for entry-level positions have subdued while the focus has shifted to hiring for experienced roles. These shifts, alongside widespread restructuring in the technology sector, indicate that the pace of change is accelerating across the economy. States are committing billions to workforce programs, while key workforce dynamics remain invisible to traditional planning tools. So there's a lot to unpack there, but this is definitely reinforcing key topics and data points that we have touched on in the last few months on the podcast a lot. But this angle that we haven't really got into, Mike, that I really like the direction of where they're going here, is when you look at like economic developments. Like in Ohio, we have Jobs Ohio, And they look at this, training and reskilling of employees and trying to prepare for, well, where is the economy going, so we can prepare people in our states for that type of work. And their point here is, if you don't understand what AI models are capable of and where the crossover is of what these models are capable of doing, then your state isn't going to be prepared to upskill your workforce. So it's actually a very, very important point, and which is why I kept like, okay, I want to really dig into what they're doing here. So then the abstract continued, by the time these changes appear in official statistics, policymakers may already be reacting to yesterday's disruptions, committing billions to programs that target skills already displaced. Without forward-looking capability to test strategies before implementation, states cannot distinguish investments that prepare workers from those that arrive too late. Existing workforce planning frameworks were designed for human-only economies. They track employment, wages, and productivity, but were not designed to measure where AI capabilities overlap with human skills before adoption reshapes occupational structure. So I'll give a little bit more context in a moment. But Mike, as I'm saying this out loud, it actually I see the educational components of this as well. Like, this is the
Yeah.
kind of stuff at a high school level and higher ed. We should be doing the exact same things. Like, what
Mm.
the majors that we're offering, that we're having kids going through 4 years, 6 years of college for, are the skills they're leaving school with even relevant to the current workforce or where these models take us?
Yeah, it's
So,
interesting. I don't know about you, but as I've talked with schools about designing curriculums, especially around AI, it's like they're in such a hard position where it's like you have to plan this curriculum out years in advance, at least a year in advance. And
yeah.
it's really, really difficult to do. And they kind of speak to that in this research about how we're all just kind of playing catch up using
Yep.
traditional methods.
Yeah, and even, again, as we think about 2026 planning and you think about staffing for your company, these same things hold true. This is why I created Jobs GPT, was to try and like
Mm.
project this stuff out. So like, are our staffing plans for next year even relevant, or are the AI models so capable of some of the skills we're hiring for, we just don't need as many people as we did previously? So, okay, a little bit more on the index, because again, now that I'm like talking out loud about this, I'm actually seeing a lot more relevance to this research. So it says the index measures where AI systems overlap with skills used in each occupation. And this is really important, related to the CNBC headline, Mike, that you led with.
Yep.
A score reflects the share of wage value linked to skills where current AI systems show technical capability. For example, a score of 12%, which 11.4 is what the headline said, means AI overlaps with skills representing 12% of that occupation's wage value, not 12% of jobs. So it's
Hmm.
all about skill overlap, not job displacement. And this is where I started getting confused. It's like, what exactly is the headline saying? And,
Yeah.
what are we trying to convey here? Um, so then they actually have an FAQ on the iceberg page, and it says, does the index predict job loss or displacement? No, the index reports technical skill overlap with AI. It does not estimate job loss, workforce reductions, adoption timelines, or net employment effects. So again, they're stressing like this is all about trying to educate policymakers on where these overlaps exist. And then they're doing this through, and this is where I was like, I wish I could learn more about this part of it. So here's how they say they do this. They use what they call large population models to simulate the human AI labor market, representing 151 million workers as autonomous agents executing over 32,000 skills across 3,000 counties, so
Mm.
counties being within the states in the United States, and interacting with thousands of AI tools. I don't know if I missed it, Mike, but like, that's the part I really wanted to say. How in the hell did you do that? Like, what is
That
the technology behind it?
they're
Because you,
bearing the lead here, I feel
yeah,
like,
I
because
was
the
like,
11.7% is really interesting and important, but like, wait a second, we have something that can model this?
right, where is this technology? Can I use it in advertising? Like,
Right.
what is this? So yeah, that was the part that jumped out to me. And again, I may have just not been looking at the right stuff. I looked at the addendums, like the appendices in the report. I looked on the site. So I guess stay tuned. We'll try and figure out more about this, but that's where the headline comes from. This
Mm.
idea that this 11.4, 11.7% and 1.2 trillion in wages, that's what it means, is there's an overlap of AI capabilities and skills. So then the second one, Mike, that you touched on is this McKinsey study. This is a really solid report, lots of data. It does get pretty technical. they also were taking a look at the exposure of jobs and skills to AI models, and they used what they called a skill change index, which
Yeah.
shows which skills will be most and least exposed to automation in the next 5 years. Again, I think there's a couple of just highlight data points here. I would encourage you, if you do want to like dig into this one, do throw it in Notebook LM, play around with it, look at the data. It just gets kind of dense, and I honestly like. I love McKinsey research. I had the hardest time reading their graphs. I don't
Same.
know if it's just me and like I'm not like a researcher by trade, but like I have to really really spend time on their charts to figure out what the hell they're showing me. So I often just lean on whatever their call out says the chart is telling me. Otherwise, it's like I have no idea what I'm looking at. Um, so the demand for AI fluency, as you mentioned, Mike, the ability to use and manage AI tools has grown sevenfold, faster than any other skill in U.S. job postings. That's a pretty
Mm,
big deal. Um, I like they call this out. They said integrating AI will not be a simple technology rollout, but a reimagining of work itself, redesigning processes, roles, skills, culture, and metrics so people, agents, and robots create more value together. That is
mm,
such a critical point. It is something we stress all the time. You cannot treat AI adoption and scaling of AI as a technical problem. It is a people problem. It is a change management issue. And so it does take all of this deeper thinking. So I really like that they touched on that. This 2.9 trillion of economic value by 2030. Again, I'm not 100% sure where they're getting that data point from. I've seen similar data points from them before, so it may actually be referring to a previous study. But they then do say if organizations prepare their people,
mm,
redesign workflows rather than individual tasks around people, agents, and robots. You mentioned, I think this highlight about 57% of US work hours could basically be done today with a lot of automation that is currently capable. And they actually break that out then into 44% of US work hours today that are more knowledge based stuff, and then 13% that are more manual or robot based. Um, they did do a cool breakdown. They show these 7 archetypes that I would recommend people just again. This was actually a pretty understandable graph. So they show less automatable and then more automatable on a spectrum, basically. And so they break it into 7. They have people centric, which is future work done mostly by people. People agent, which is future work done mostly by people with agents, and that's gonna be 21% according to them. 34% is the people centric. And then agent centric is future work done mostly by agents. That's 30% of
mm,
current workforce. And then they get into people robot, robot centric, and then people agent robot and agent robot. So again, they're looking at the people, the agents, and the robots, and trying to look at the future of all work. This isn't just knowledge work. So, quick kind of synopsis here. This touches on a lot of what I covered in my Move 37 moment for knowledge workers keynote at Macon. So I just here, I'll pull in a couple of key points from that talk that are sort of like supported by this data. So the first thing is the future of work hypothesis. So what I've been working on since spring of this year is this hypothesis that is within 1 to 2 years, AI model advancements and agent capabilities will force a radical transformation of talent, teams, and organizational structures. Leaders face conflicting pressures to take a responsible, human-centered approach to AI adoption while leveraging AI for near-term gains in efficiency, productivity, creativity, and profitability. The second point is we do not need to reach AGI, however we define it, and we'll touch on this a little bit more in a couple of upcoming topics today, to completely transform business, the economy, and society. Companies will put a premium on AI literacy, which we just talked about, AI fluency demand, a sevenfold increase, interpersonal communications, creativity, critical thinking, curiosity, emotional intelligence, imagination, and adaptability. These are the kinds of things we think are to become more important in the hiring process and the development of talent. 2 critical aspects of everyone's work, especially in knowledge work: knowing what questions to ask of the AI assistants and knowing what to do with the answers, and then knowing how to talk to, collaborate with, and learn from AI. One other key point here, Mike, that we've talked a lot about is this idea of an economic Turing test. So
mm,
while we look at this iceberg index and the skills index and all these things, at the end of the day, when things really start to change is when businesses make a decision to hire an AI agent or a collection of agents working together instead of a person,
mhm,
not just for tasks and projects, but for full jobs. And that's the part where we're like anxiously watching for this to become the thing. Right now, the job loss we're seeing is because humans can get work done more efficiently. They can produce more, not because AI agents are actually doing all the work that would replace an actual
Right.
human. It's just efficiency. So that's why it becomes extremely important to consider exposure as the models get smarter and more generally capable, which is sort of what the McKinsey report is starting to look at as agents and robots. So again, really important research. They seem like well done. Both of these reports, both noteworthy for sure. Um, but yeah, like kind of dig into them. But at a high level, I think those are some of the key things for people to think about again as we enter 2026 planning.
Yeah, and I would just encourage our audience too, if you're, a knowledge worker like me, not, an entrepreneur owning a business, invert the economic Turing test for yourself and say, why would someone hire you over an AI agent or a swarm of connected agents instead of just hiring you? I mean, that's really helpful and a useful question to ask as you kind of evolve your own career.